Welcome back, my friends. I've got a quick question for you. If you could narrow down the most important aspect of gardening, the one thing that's going to give you the most success in the garden, the most return on your investment of time, energy, money, what do you think that would be? If you said good soil, you'd be correct. Good soil is the building block to your garden, to the success, to the health of your plants, to the nutrition locked in your plant cells that then feed your body. So it's so important that we start with a great foundation. Now, I know what y'all are saying. Many of you are saying, I've got terrible soil to begin with. It's hard, full of clay, compact, can't dig into it, full of rock. Well, that's why we got to just keep doing our best year after year to improve our soil tilth. The way we do that really is by adding in more and more organic materials. And in my opinion, the more diverse the plant materials are that we're able to add in to our garden to build soil, whether it's in a compost pile or through a technique I'm going to be sharing with you today, chop and drop, the better. So today's August 23rd, 2021. We're getting into the latter part of summer. The days are getting shorter, and some of the plants that were thriving just a few months ago are now beginning to die back. And I look at that as a great opportunity to add, again, more organic material into the garden, into the soil. And this is just going to keep on building that soil up and creating great results for me. And here's an example of one of those plants right here, the cardoon. Just a couple months ago, it was lush green. All those flower heads were bright electric purple. It was covered with bees. And now we've got a skeleton of a plant. But check out what I'm about to do. I'm just going to take this whole thing and knock it right over. And when applying this technique, you can actually get quite strategic with it as well. Plants like this can actually be placed carefully around other plants that are just growing up. And it will protect them from all sorts of different wildlife, creating some camouflage, also some dappled shade for younger plants. Or if you just want to create more of an instant mulch, you're going to want to get yourself a nice machete and just begin to chop it on down right in place. Now, plants like the cardoon contain seeds in the flower heads there, so just be aware if there's a certain plant that you're chopping and dropping that already has gone to its dry stage, those seeds are going to sow themselves right where you chop and drop the plant, so make sure that that's something that you're okay with. I do expect some volunteer cardoon plants to pop up in this area. I'll probably yank a few out and leave some to grow, but I'm just fine with some volunteers coming up. And I understand this look is not going to be for all gardeners. Some really prefer that tidy look in the garden, which I can appreciate as well. But if you can get over trying to have everything looking spick and span in the garden, but instead focus on just creating as much life force as you can in your soil, it's going to pay off in a big way. There is a way that we can cover this up and kind of hide it, so to speak. I'll show you a few techniques I use for that. So if you've got access to materials like straw, this can be a great way to cover up what you've just chopped in the garden and bring back that natural look while adding in some other materials that are going to continually break down in the garden. You don't need a whole lot. And now it just looks more like a mulched area of the garden. And when it comes time to plant in this area, you just scooch back a little area like this and you plant right into there. Another wonderful organic material to blend in your chop and drop into your garden is wood chips. And it's the same concept. You just cover up whatever you chopped and dropped onto the floor of your garden. And later on, when the time comes for planting, scooch it back and plant right into that, and you're good to go. Now, as time goes on, especially over the winter, as we get our rains coming in and things become moist, begin to break down, that's all going to virtually disappear by the following year. We'll have some of the larger branches still remaining. We can take those and kind of throw them to the side, the edge of the garden, and it's just a wonderful way to build your soil. Another great thing about this technique is that we are streamlining operations and therefore we are saving time. And time is money, time is precious. We don't want to waste our time if we don't have to. So if we were to collect all the dying back, decaying material in the garden and collect it all in one centralized place like a compost bin, that's going to require a lot more effort, a lot more time versus chopping and dropping on site. Just takes a few seconds and it's done. So I'm a big fan of saving time and energy. So what do you have to look forward to if you start implementing this technique? More abundance with less input. Here we've got this beautiful apple tree. Yeah, the apples are a little small. You did no thinning on this tree, but they are delicious, and this tree has seen very little water throughout this growing season. And that's because we're not just building up the soil, which is helping it to retain moisture, but we're also constantly mulching around our trees.